Another person taking a pop at the government this week is the husband of Baroness Michelle Mone, who insists he and his wife have been, and I quote, hung out to dry by ministers to distract from their own failures to procure PPE. Doug Barrowman wrote on social media that it suits the agenda of politicians to use him as a scapegoat and said his family has been treated as a punch bag by the press. It comes after Baroness Mone admitted to lying about having links to PPE MedPro, a firm led by her husband, which was awarded contracts worth more than £200 million during the pandemic. She also admitted that she and her family stand to benefit from the £60 million profits made by the company. PPE MedPro is now being investigated by the National Crime Agency and is also being sued by the Department for Health and Social Care. I mean, there's an old adage, isn't there, that when you're in a hole, stop digging. And this couple, Michelle Mone and Doug Barrowman, just keep digging deeper and deeper. They keep giving ridiculous interviews.
It was bad enough.
Yeah, which do not exonerate them.
Bad enough.
And just before Christmas, there was suddenly Michelle Mone said before Christmas, well, you know, I haven't received any money. I admit now I do have links to PPE MedPro, and in the future, as a shareholder in the country, I may get some money. Turns out, just before Christmas, guess what? She had a £3 million deposit into her personal account. She's got to account for that. Doug Barrowman, meanwhile, says they did nothing wrong. Well, what happened was we had a thing called VIP lanes for important people to get in touch with the government and say, we can give you PPE. And that's what Michelle Mone said. She said, I've got this company, then we can provide you with £200 million worth of PPE. Government said, we'll take some of that. Guess what? PPE MedPro was formed 5 days after that statement. These two are in trouble.
I mean, it does. I mean, I find this whole story so bizarre. Weirdly, I thought Doug Barrowman's statement, if you just took it plainly and didn't know much about the story, is quite sort of convincing. He's basically saying, you're not suing any of the others, these suppliers, etc. The whole supply of PPE seems to be entirely chaotic. But what I can't get my head around is all these people started these PPE companies off the back of this pandemic, and the sheer greed and brass neck at a time of national crisis. You would have thought people would set up not-for-profit companies saying, we'll procure PPE for the nation, we won't take a penny in profit, we'll do our bit to help the NHS, who we were all clapping for, get through this pandemic. That's what I couldn't get my head around. People just seeing the pandemic as some amazing bonanza business opportunity.
But also, you know, in fairness to Barrowman, I mean, the incompetence of the government through the PPE crisis or the COVID crisis with reference to PPE was extraordinary. He's got a point there, but to say that they are being scapegoats and to imply they've done nothing wrong, I think is probably pushing it.
And saying that he's being treated as a human punch bag, well, I think most people feel they'd quite gladly use him as a human punch bag. Yeah, to hear from Michelle Mone before Christmas was painful, but this is now insulting him, this man, this husband of her. They've clearly used her position in the House of Lords. They've clearly used their links to benefit from this. And as Ed says, at a time of national crisis, it's an absolute insult to exploit the fear and the worry and the hardship that people went through. But the sense of panic at that time.
I mean, the thing is, this couple is shameless. There's no doubt about that. But I don't have a problem with, you know, companies being given contracts because they had the expertise. So I believe it was Dyson that was given contracts to develop the ventilators that were needed.
It was a huge
they had no expertise.
They had no company
Dyson had, but that's the point I'm making. They had no expertise, and they're completely shameless milking this. I think the reason why I'm most frustrated about this is because I'm one of those people that I don't believe in abolishing the House of Lords. I do believe in reforming it.
What?
Yes. I believe in abolishing it.
Call a medic.
Let's get rid of it.
I do believe in reforming it because I do think there's a lot of value there. And I think when you hear about stories like this, like Michelle Mone using her links to the government to behave so shamelessly, that's what frustrates me, because I think it makes it easier to tarnish the whole institution with one brush when it's actually just a very greedy, selfish, shameless couple that are effectively just profiting from themselves.
And by the way, you know, Michelle Mone said, admitted, oh, sorry, I did lie to the press, as if that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the press.
My family.
Yeah, but the problem is, when it doesn't matter who you lied to, once you admit you lied, why should we ever believe you again?